Everyone from the Philippines. Well, the Philippines, where our university is based, is considered to be one of the most vulnerable countries in the world in terms of climate change impacts. Our vulnerability stems not only from an increase in climate change hazards or climate-related hazards, like if you remember in 2013, which is Typhoon Haiyan, that killed more than 3,000 individuals, or the predicted and observed sea level rise in our coastal areas. Take note that in the Philippines, 63% of our population live in coastal areas. But as a developing country, we are also vulnerable economically and socially, in which these climate-related hazards and disasters take a toll mostly on the poor. And just like any other developing country, the path of development adopted by our national government still follows the path adopted by developed countries more than 50 years ago. And we all know that this path is highly extractive of natural resources and produce lots of pollutants and greenhouse gases. We all know that taking that same path and lifestyle will inevitably result in the creation of more greenhouse gases. That's why there is a need to have a paradigm shift of values and mindsets of our leaders and citizens. This is where our role as universities come into play. But when we started our path to carbon zero or to zero carbon 10 years ago, our foremost question as a university is, can environmental education save the world? When we assess our current environmental and climate change education programs in the university at that time, we realized that the incremental and piecemeal integration of these programs in our curriculum will not be very effective or are not effective. We realized that when we want to change our students' mindsets, who will become future leaders and citizens, we need to change their values. And when we want to change their values, we need to change their habits. And when we want to change their habits, we need to change what reinforce these habits. And for us to be able to reinforce the habits that we want, consistency is very crucial. Therefore, environmental education should go beyond the classroom. It should go beyond the topics in the courses or questions or in the graded assessments. We realize that what we teach to our students inside the classroom should be exemplified foremost by the university through its policies, its operations, its research agenda and direction, and its curriculum. We take environmental education to an extent that we embrace the slogan, practicing what we teach. We believe that a change of values is important, and this change can only be made when the university has consistency in its actions, both inside and outside the classroom, and to the greater community where the university belongs. That's why when we launched our program, Blackout Green In, Making Green Greener, 2011, we aim to create a zero carbon or a carbon neutral university. It is a university-wide program that aims to transcend sustainability in all levels of the school activities, from policies and processes to research and extension programs to curriculum and student activities. It is a systems-wide approach using systems thinking application, but using climate change as a banner program. The program is very simple. First, we measure the university's carbon footprint, then reduce this carbon footprint using two approaches. The first is reduction, and the second is sequestration. Sequestration involves conducting tree planting activities, particularly native Philippine trees, with all our partner government and private institutions for planting sites and maintenance of these trees. From these planted trees, we measure how much carbon was sequestered and deduct this from our carbon footprint. To date, the university has planted more than 150,000 trees since 2011, all over our archipelago, and contributed in neutralizing almost 15% of the university's carbon footprint. The bigger chunk of challenge goes to reduction, which involves an institution-wide policy or strategy. This involves first institutionalizing the program through a policy, instituting policies on solid waste management, for example, energy efficiency, and polluters pay principle in transportation. Then implementing reduction of carbon in office operations, reduction in efficient use of resources, and making sure these programs are integrated in personnel evaluation, faculty and staff development, and formation. And lastly, integration to curriculum, not only in classroom topics, but also in student activities, formation, co-curricular and extracurricular activities, together with integration in research and community extension. We even, for example, created a scoring tool for campus student organizations to measure how sustainable are their activities and award these organizations who embrace sustainability or who have less carbon activities. Some examples of these reduction programs that we are doing are the following. Let's say gradual replacement of our inefficient lighting systems with LEDs, maximizing the use of daylight, allotting 40% of our university land use to greens, which enhance the university's microclimate and reduce energy from air conditioning units. The Philippines is a tropical country. Intensive solid waste collection, which produce income for environmental programs, and banning entry of single-use plastics, which further reduce expenses on solid waste disposal. We also installed solar lights on walkways and streets. We developed contracts with energy providers to provide 60% to date of our energy resources coming from renewable energy. Green purchasing policy, and accrediting suppliers that embrace university sustainable practices. And we've been doing this since 2011. But I want to take note that implementations of these programs are not walks in the park. It had and still has a lot of challenges. The greatest challenge from our experience in embracing a zero carbon campus is not technology, neither policies nor plans, for these things can easily be done. The greatest challenge based on our experience actually is organizational behavior. How do we move people in our organization to embrace these changes? Because embracing these changes create inconveniences and a change in habits. And while you are doing this, I will tell you that you will be the most unpopular person in the campus. But to be able to overcome that, there are 5 important points that you might consider. And this is based on our experience. First, administration commitment by identifying champions for this program shall make your work easier and faster. Number 2, ownership of the community to the program is very crucial. Making sure that the efforts made is not for an individual, an office, or a set of people. Ownership to the recognition and program by all the stakeholders is a crucial component to the success of the program. And we can create ownership by number 3, regular reporting of the efforts done by the units and the university as a whole. And number 4, joining competitions like the Green Gown and sharing with all stakeholders any recognitions. In our university, for example, we started in 2011 in joining national competition for the national search for sustainable campuses. And we won as a national champion during that year. And I think that's one of the crucial turning point that made our work easier because of an increased support from the administration. And I think number 5, also crucial, is a continuous staff and faculty development. For they are the frontliners to our students, and they will be able to be an important variable in any curricular program. Our commitment is to have a zero carbon by 2030, and we hope to reach that with the same fervor and support from our stakeholders. My question a while ago, can environmental education save the world? Our answer from this is it depends up to what extent and up to what form do we want to take environmental education. Up to what extent do we take up environmental education in our universities? Our answer to that question will tell us if our program will be successful. That's why we are making our commitment and joining other universities globally in the Race to Zero initiatives for universities and colleges. And by being part of this initiative, we are able to, number one, set a goal or standard for ourselves in achieving zero carbon. Number two, provide us an opportunity not just to share our experiences, but also more importantly, learn from the experiences and best practices of others. And number three, we're able to join the call of other academic institutions on the immediate need, the crucial need to reduce carbon emission and to reduce the risk of climate-related hazards and disaster, especially for the Philippines. Good evening and thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Marlon. That is very true, and a lot of good work to do there and changing hearts and minds to get people on board with this agenda and pushing through being unpopular into that space where make a better future for everyone. There is a question for you in the chat. It's from a master's student of energy economics at Makerere University in Uganda. He would like to clarify whether how you're managing wastes, especially municipal solid waste.
Okay, first there is a national law that was established in 2000. We call it the Ecological Solid Waste Management Law, or the Management Act, in which all municipalities are required to segregate their waste. But during that time in 2000, before we implemented a solid waste management program, every month, every month we have, and during that time, year 2000, we have about more or less 10,000 students. And we generate about 24 dump trucks or garbage trucks, big garbage trucks of solid waste every month. And it cost us a lot in terms of operating expenses. So what we did was we established our own material recovery facility in the university. It's a collection site. It's a storage site for waste in which we segregate our waste. And we established a relationship with local recycling institutions, or we call it junk shops, in which we can provide the recyclable materials from the university. And it generates income. Aside from that, point source garbage from the laboratories, from different sites in the university encourages segregation. And by doing so, we were able to reduce the 12 dump trucks every month in 2016 to about 4 dump trucks in a month with 16,000 students. So imagine the reduction in the cost and the problem in terms of solid waste. So to be able to answer your question, I think there's a need really first to characterize the waste generated in the campus and try to identify how we were assimilate those waste, residual waste, recyclable waste, and compostable waste. But at the same time, segregation is only a downstream approach. We need also to do upstream, like reduction. So we banned single-use plastics inside the campus. We banned the plastic drinking straw and plastic bags inside the campus. And it significantly also reduced the non-recyclable waste coming into the university. So it's a combination of reduction and proper segregation of waste. But of course, I would tell you, it took years to be able to integrate that behavior, constant reinforcement and constant education, especially to incoming freshmen and students. I hope I was able to answer your question.